Tonight, deadly protests across Peru now.
A state of emergency has been declared in the capital.
Right now, I am in Bogota, Colombia, and I am just a couple days away from flying over to Lima, Peru, and we're gonna...
The State Department raising the Peru travel advisory to level 3.
Well, I'm just gonna be documenting my experience. I think it's happening. The news in Peru is riots, violence.
Indignación en Lima contra la presidenta Dina Boluarte.
Yo, there's another one. Also, hopefully we're gonna see how pretty Peru is.
So I guess, like, to preamble, I guess I just want to say I actually lost a lot of the footage that I got, you know, especially of, like, my commentary of me actually being there. But no matter, I've decided to not let that discourage me. I've decided, you know, I still have enough I can make this video. So President Castillo was sworn into office on July 28th, 2021. And in the 16 months of his presidency since, he has had 3 movements of presidential vacancy, or basically what in the United States we might call an impeachment against him by the Congress. So on December 7th, likely believing that Congress had officially secured enough votes to vacate him from office, Castillo gets on TV to proclaim that he would be disbanding the Congress and he would be in charge of an emergency government that would oversee a new constitution and new elections. Now, his plan didn't exactly go well, as around 2 hours after his announcement, he was formally dismissed by the Congress and arrested by his own bodyguards on the way to the Mexican embassy. His vice president was sworn into office, becoming Peru's 6th president in 5 years. Many of the protests originated from the people in the countryside who made up the majority of Castillo's support. They originally took to the streets to call for Castillo's release from prison and his reinstatement. But as the protests began to grow in size, so did the police response to them. Brutal police crackdowns and clashes have left nearly 60 dead, most of them protesters. Following the violence, the message of the protest has significantly changed from reinstate Castillo to now calling for President Boluarte to step down. Just before my arrival in Lima, I had seen a couple news articles about a sort of march on Lima, with many protesters from rural areas and cities marching together towards the capital. At this time, entire sections of the country were disconnected from each other. The roads are blocked, there were protests in the way.
So I think it's officially happening. I'm right down the street from a demonstration right now. A couple hundred people are calling for the president of Peru to step down. They're shouting, "Dina the killer," all sorts of stuff, man. There's police everywhere, freaking, I'm real nervous to be here, guys.
My first few nights, I would see a few demonstrators holding signs under the watchful eye of the police, maybe numbering 7 or 8. However, on January 19th, that would change as seemingly the march on Lima was beginning to arrive, with protests beginning to fill up the streets, plazas and parks and other public spaces throughout the city. The once small demonstration seemed to grow exponentially in size. Just when I thought it couldn't get any bigger, another massive column of hundreds of people came, but with them came with a wall of police to match. Throughout the night, the actions of the crowd would become more and more radical. In the north of the city, near the historic downtown, the protesters would set government buildings on fire, whose ruins were still smoldering when I went to go see them the next day.
So, it's in between me and the hotel.
Another moment I remember very vividly is when I turned the corner and just a wall of police officers was coming down that way and pushed everyone that was near us back towards the protest.
Dina the killer.
The protesters were lighting things on fire in the streets and throwing things at the wall of police who opposed them. That night, they must have finally got the order to put a stop to it as they began firing tear gas into the crowd. These demonstrations would remain ongoing for the rest of my time in Lima.
Sheesh. That was pretty. Like at one point I turned the corner and like I just had like a wall of cops.
Following days, there would be large gatherings and marches, all calling for Boluarte to step down. One memorable moment I had was when I was taking a video in a small park downtown when a column of thousands of people carrying signs declaring that Dina Boluarte is a killer and that they were from Puno and Juliaca, amongst other places. Despite all the unrest that was going on, I still felt mostly safe during my time there, with a few exceptions. A lot of places were closed down due to the protests, but I saw a city that was just trying to go on with their lives despite the chaos. Most of the violence was done by the police, so at least in my mind, the greatest threats were clearly marked. Peru was one of my favorite places I've traveled to so far, and I'm definitely going to have to go back when the country isn't paralyzed by civil unrest. And as you got to see in this video, we did get to see how pretty Peru was. The answer is very.
Ink in sight right around